Hey guys, today I wanted to make a little video about the artist's best friend. And I think the artist's best friend is the sketchbook. Um, so I pulled out one of my boxes of sketchbooks. They say so I don't forget who I am. I think this was from from puppet school when I went to puppet school. So what a sketchbook is, which you all know, is a little book that you can write ideas, do drawings, and just continue to sort of constantly work as an artist. And so whenever there's a little downtime in your life, if you're not at home where you sort of have access to everything, if you're out there in the world where inspiration comes at random times and you see things, you have a sketchbook whereby you can jot those things down. And I, from a very early age, manager of the circus, Slim Coltrane. He's like a green bean. So I think I was working on a second idea for a circus book, or maybe this was, maybe this is the very, this could be right from the very beginning. Where are you going? To the circus parade. Okay. Wagons, music, animals. And so very early on, I, started doing sketchbooks. And, there's probably maybe the original drawing of the tattooed pickle in this little sketchbook. I started carrying around a sketchbook and ice cream for ice cream and doing it. And, as time goes by, probably another time I was at some class, they started filling up. This is like some Green Lantern villain where they had like all the different colors and they were villains, and somebody wanted me to draw Shaky Bacon as this particular villain. So I did it. And so I did it. And that's what, some things are just like words and stuff. That's probably from when I was taking improv classes. And so, whenever I was out taking a class or doing something, I would have one of these with me. And when there was the cable bill, cast Mr. Toast and Joe the Egg, I don't know what that means. So it's just, you end up with all this sort of endless information. And so in some cases I would take this stuff home and then work on it from there. Here's a idea for the Mr. Toast hat that we ended up making, which they were not stretchy, and so they only fit a very particular size of head. There they are, going on a butterfly safari, and that probably ended up as one of the single one-day Mr. Toast comics. So, I would be working on those in here. I'd be working on book ideas. I'd be, here's a crayon guy. So that was probably at the time when I was doing something with color ink book. And so I was trying to understand, trying to work out how I would draw that character. Occasionally I would just be working in Sharpie for some reason. Voodoo economics. Wasn't that a thing that, the in crowd. And each day, this is an older one, I think, because I used to put my name and phone number in there in case I lost one. And the funny thing is, at one point, I left one of these little ones at the post office, and it didn't have my information in there. And the guy that found it looked through it, and he saw the Mr. Toast drawings, and he's like, must have said Mr. Toast in there. And so he got on the internet and looked me up and sent me an email, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I'd left it there. Let DJ. What just says let DJ. Let DJ. And PB, which is the atomic symbol for lead. And a lot of times I would only draw on one page. And that was the other thing when I was going through these. Lots of them have blank pages at the back because I rarely ever, filled up a sketchbook. That's like a little design for a Mr. Toast fan club card. Probably maybe the first one. Actually, look at this. This one says WonderCon 2011. So this is from 2011. It's almost 10 years old. The funny thing is I don't sketchbook that much anymore because I'm home most of the time. I don't go out as much. And when I do go out, I would bring a sketchbook. This is a really old one, I think. This one I think I found at the flea market because this is not my drawing. This is not my writing. So someone had already done a little bit of work in this sketchbook, and these were the when I went to elementary school, there were these little spigots that a little attachment you put on the end of the hose for watering. Or maybe we had that as a kid. Maybe it wasn't at school. I don't know, but it was like this little strange, it was cast aluminum, I think, and it had like two things. They also had the little tractors at my school. And what these tractors were is they'd put the hose in there and you'd coil up the hose, and then the tractor, as the water went through it, it would slowly move forward and do the whole lawn, and you wouldn't have to constantly keep moving it. And that was with these sketchbooks, I was always looking for digging into that childhood. And then this was one of the Sanrio shows that Japan LA did, and so I did tons and tons of drawings. So I would just sit in these sketchbooks and just like, here's Hang Yudon, and here's Hello Kitty as the fortune teller, back to the whole carnival. And so there's tons and tons and tons of jokes and little humorous things that I think are funny. Here's a listing of paintings that we could do at the Hello Kitty carnival. So that we had a Batsmaroo jump house, and this is animation project notes. Oh yeah, this is a really old one. It's like an idea I had. Oh, there's somebody's phone number. Let's Jason, I have no idea who that even is. It was going to be called The Big Backyard, and it was this little girl who was an adventurer, and then she would have this backpack full of good stuff. I guess her t-shirt said fun on it, and so each day she would venture out into this backyard where there was an infinite amount of adventures. And so this idea, I guess her name was Astrid at one point, so I was trying to draw kids. I kind of gave up on kids pretty darn quick. This is very early. This is probably 2005 or something. Just was always looking for things to work on and think about. This is Space Duck. So this is back when I was sort of dealing with Disney a little bit. So I guess this was like another idea that I was thinking about and still think about. Every once in a while, I think back on that idea and I'm like, I like that idea. So here we go. There's a snake in my house, a damsel in distress. It's not poisonous. So this is stuff that went into comic book number 2. So we could date this. We could date this sketch. And that's the thing about it is, like, I'm terrible at putting dates on stuff. So we could, if you really wanted to go back to, you could pretty much figure out when each of these sketchbooks was from, because there's like correlating material. These are actually from college, and this one's great because this is a puppet show we put on, and it was about Little Henry, my character that was around before Mr. Toast. And so Little Henry somehow gets to the moon. I think there's like these little bees. He maybe finds one of those little bees, flies by, and he like lassos it, and it carries them to the moon, and then he has to fight this big monster. Have you noticed how all the things I need are just left lying around? So that would have been, I guess, one of the jokes that we made. Yeah, because he lassos the moon bug, called Moon Man, I guess. I don't know. And then somehow he figures out a way to get back. And back when we were doing these, which would have been, oh man, I don't even know what year. It would have been in, I went to college in like 85 to like 90. So this would have been in like 1990 or 91. And it was just me and my buddy Mike. And the thing about it was, we would just improvise the scripts. I would just sort of say, well, here's sort of the plot, and then we do it. And that one was super fun. And this story I always love because, it was improvised, and there was maybe a basic plot. We'd done it one time before. Little Henry Does Time, and then this was Little Henry on the Moon, and then I did one where Little Henry climbed up the Empire State Building as part of a bigger thing, which was just a little 5-minute thing, or 5 or 10 minutes group thing. But this one was at the Irvine Fine Arts Center. It was part of a class, so each person had their own space, and so I had my own space. We set up this thing on this riser, where I had all this landscape, and it was just me and Mike. So Mike was playing, I was doing all the Little Henrys, and Mike was doing everything else. And God bless Mike for doing this. But we'd been doing a radio show. We did a improvised radio show for many years, and he still does. We still do it every once in a while when I get down there. And so we did a run through. So the whole thing was the audience moved from one room to the next room as we went along. And so when it was going to happen, you're waiting in your room. This is why I'm telling this story in the middle of Sketchbooks is because I showed you that picture. So during the afternoon, so it was at night. I think things started at 7 or something. So during the afternoon, we were like, we're going to do a run through. And there were like these 6 or 7 kids who, as punishment, had to come to the Irvine Fine Arts Center and clean up or whatever. So this was our audience. A bunch of, teenage kids that were being forced to be there. So we did our run through, and it was a disaster. We bombed. We bombed so hard. When I watch all these things about stand-up comics, I'm like, oh, okay. I knew what bombing was. And bombing is it's a knife in your heart. And when you don't know what the hell you're doing, when you're improvising and you don't even know what improvisation is, so we just bombed hard. Then there was an amount of soul searching, like, oh, do we really want to try and do this in front of an audience? And so, hours pass, boom, we're waiting, so you're sort of waiting in a room and you sort of hear the audience files in, we start the thing, and we kill. We just killed and killed and killed. It was just beautiful. And, just showed the power of improv. When you're on with improv and you have the right backing, right stuff going on, because we were doing puppets, and, Mike is incredibly funny, and he's a good straight man, and I was probably throwing out all kinds of jokes and, being a jerk. And it just killed, and it was just beautiful. And then afterwards we did like a question and answer, and I still had that, you still had that rhythm going, and, got a couple questions, and just got that whole audience to laugh, and you're just soaking it up. And I'm sure that's what it's like when you're a musician and go on stage, and you just like, you put it out there and you get it back. And I've done that with improv, and it's just beautiful. Balloon Boy, another really early character, basically he just floats off into the universe. Typical Dan Goodsell sort of storyline thing. Random stuff just sort of happens to a character, and they float off into things. Okay, I don't know what that's about. This was back when I was doing funny face stuff, so I was exploring all sorts of things. Strange drawings for stuff that might have had to do. We used to play D&D, and so would work on stuff. But those are college ones. And then these ones are all, here, this one, when I was working on the Mr. Toast iPhone game. So I would work out all the little bits and pieces. There's the ghost. But also doing gags while I'm at it. So tons of drawings about that in there. Let's see, what's in here? Hooray for the Earth. Probably around Earth Day of some year. Oh, and here we go. Hide and Seek, a Mr. Toast story. So this either was when we were working on the first comic. Man, it might have been when we were working on the first comic. Or it might have been... Yeah, this is... Wait, let's see. Here we go. What's this say here? No, this was... I don't know. So there's Hide and Seek, Night Music, Shaky Takes a Punch, Shaky's Lunar Adventure, Down and Out. So maybe we'd done 2 at this point? I don't know. It's kind of weird that I would be talking about Hide and Seek because... I don't know. It's kind of strange. I don't know what that means. And that's the thing with everything is I only remember so much. Even of my own stuff. I don't remember everything that happened. Todd and I have done a lot of stuff. And I just did the big interview with Todd where we did 3 hours about this. And he remembers stuff I don't remember, which is great. So yeah. Friends wander aimlessly. It's a nice dry media one. These are the expensive ones. And so here we go. These are working out the bonus panels to one of Imaginary World Comics 1 or 2. I don't remember. I think this is probably 2. Here's a Weenie Dog and Super Duck. Arf. Who knows? Just doing like we do. This is Mr. Toast as Black Bolt of the Inhumans. I don't know, maybe there was a painting? That's the other thing with all the, when you do paintings and things, you do paintings, then you sell them, and they disappear, and you never see them again. And what's this? This one's from Mittel Art Center in Santa Monica. Never heard of it. Must have been there. Must have been there at some point. Don't remember being there. Here's some maps I was going to try and do drawings on. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I probably have 2.5 full, this one you could paint on the cover. 2.5 full boxes. Senor Cork, exotic visitor from a foreign land. He traveled widely and lived an exciting and dangerous life. Mr. Doe's next to Shaky Bacon, he would be scared of his own shadow. So I'm just working out like what the basic tenets of the characters were, which that was the thing is. I've always been trying to figure out what's going on with the characters, and you only learn that by telling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories, and then reverse engineering it back. This is when I was doing a bunch of it's like Hawaii without the tourists, a bunch of desert island jokes with them. I'm gonna miss my boogie board. I don't know why he's missing his boogie board. Are you getting any reception? Let's see, what's this one? I imagine the sunsets will be amazing. So, there you have it. That joke needs a little bit of work, but the joke being that he's not worried about being trapped on that island. He's looking at the good points of being trapped on that island. What is this one? It'll be tough without my Starbucks. So he's missing his, that's the thing you're missing. And that's the thing about jokes. Oh, this one. I remember this joke. It'll save you bus fare. So it was like a chair with a rocket tied to it, and he's expecting Shaky Bacon to sit down in that chair. I think I did those all as some of my comic strips, some of my single panel things. And this is the very beginning of improv. Add info, because in improv you always want to be adding information. Who, what, where, why. And that's the thing. When you're learning, you write down things. You write down each little thing, because your brain you can't just absorb it and instantaneously act on it. And that's what a sketchbook is about. It's about you sort of acclimatizing your brain to producing. And back in the day when I do the big shows at Gallery 1988, I'd have to do 400 and 500, 600 drawings. Loser Emporium Idiots Club. I don't know what that means. This was a drawing where I was doing the Nintendo Power Glove. I'd have to do all these drawings, and if your brain isn't churning out, then you're not going to be able to produce that amount of material. You're not going to, there were times where I would sit down and in a day sketch out 20 jokes / drawings. And when I say jokes, I just mean it could be a setup and a punchline, or it could just be a humorous situation, or it could just be a telling situation. And that, I sort of come from the school of, the gag man. And that's where I see myself is I'm an artist. I'm a functional draftsman, but I'm not my buddy Todd. I can't do the whole deal. The thought of trying to do whole books drawn myself to dig as deep as I wanted. Somebody like Todd can go and create an entire world. He can draw a grocery store. He can have the characters walk through the door. He can have the characters shop for this, shop for that. That's a lot harder for me. And that's, but what I think I'm pretty good at is the gags, See, we're still doing hide and seek. Because it's kids game stuff. It's kids stuff. Still doing the trip on the desert island. And that's what I think I'm pretty good at is finding those tropes and te amo. And sort of getting to the bottom of it, finding the humor in it, or finding the sweetness in it, or finding why it's painful. It says snowshoeing. I don't know what that has to do with anything in this image. There's Joe sort of pointing up to Lemonade. Lemonade, I think, is being carried by a mosquito who has stuck its proboscis into his rindy exterior. Where does it come from? Where do the ideas come from? The ideas come from that great big gray mass that sits in here. And I've always been a weird guy, and so pursuing this artwork for the past 20 years, I've tried to really dig into that, Initially, I didn't know what I was doing, and slowly I learned. I learned how to write some jokes. Then I learned how to write some stories. And, with each expansion, and just a little while ago, I wrote a movie. So you use these tools to sort of build that thing. These are like when you're building a house, you have wood and drywall and nails and all those things. The sketchbook is one piece of the artist's, almost like an arsenal, part of the way that the artist fights forward. Because if you don't push your art forward every day, it'll disappear. And I like to think I'm always trying to keep it going, fight for that next day, fight for that next opportunity, which hopefully will come someday. So that's me talking about sketchbooks. We got to the bottom of the box. Art and sketchbooks. They're going to go back in the box and go back under the pile of other boxes. But you got to peek into something I usually don't show anybody. So if you like this, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. Tell me how your day's going. I'm Dan. Thanks a bunch, everybody.